welcome back to BCP. Today we are going to be talking about something that is very special to us, and that was our first Black Cat Paranormal road trip. Now, we decided we were going to travel to Scotland. As we've said previously, we're in Berkshire, so it's about a 7-hour drive, which stateside, I'm sure that doesn't sound very much because I know you guys drive very far to get to different places, but to little old us, that is quite a long journey. So it was just Wayne, Emma and I. We decided we were going to go up and do some investigating. We'd heard amazing things about the Edinburgh Vaults and also about Greyfriars Kirkyard. Now, I'd actually been fortunate enough to visit the vaults on 2 previous occasions, one with my husband and one with my daughter. Both times did not fail to impress. If you've not heard me mention it before on this channel, I am in fact a psychic medium. Emma herself is incredibly sensitive, so we're between the two of us, we are like little magnets basically. That's one way of putting it, isn't it? So as I say, I kind of knew what to expect from the vaults, but I wasn't sure about the graveyard because I hadn't been there. So we got up nice and early, 5 a.m, and we decided to start our road trip. 7 hours later, and a very tired Wayne after listening to us, very excited for all that time.
Poor Wayne. That was a long drive.
It was for him especially. We decided that we were going to go look at Edinburgh town, more importantly the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, before we wanted to do anything else. So found somewhere to park and decided to have a little walk around. We decided that we were a bit hungry, so we went into one of the local pubs and had a look at the menu. So I saw something called haggis, neeps and tatties, which amused me and intrigued me. So I knew what haggis was, of course. I knew what tatties were because I'm originally northern. I had no idea what a neep was, so I did have to ask. I swallowed my pride and I asked, and it's actually turnips. So now I know. It's a a lesson learned. It doesn't sound great, but it was actually really, really delicious. Anyway, you don't need to know that. When we finished, we just decided to use the restrooms. We had to go down some very, very steep stone stairs that seemed to go on forever to get to the bathrooms. And literally the minute we got down there, it was like someone had turned on a radio. A lot of noise, a lot of activity going on around us. For want of a better word, it sounded like women of the night, shall we say, dating back to 1600s, we thought. So that was interesting. That was our first, I suppose, encounter with anything we decided we thought would be paranormal. Anyway, we left the pub. We didn't drink. I want to add that there was no alcohol involved in this trip to the pub.
Plenty of spirits in the bar though.
Spirits in the bar. We didn't touch them. Anyway, after that, we realised that, surprise, surprise, in October in Scotland, it's cold.
Very cold.
Very cold.
Very, very cold.
We didn't factor that in when packing, so we were freezing. So we decided we needed scarves, we needed gloves. So after traipsing around, we managed to find them. Feeling more comfortable, we decided that we were going to go and look for the graveyard. So we managed to find it. And right outside is a statue of Greyfriars Bobby. Do you want to explain who that is?
Yeah, so Greyfriars Bobby was a little dog who made friends with one of the men in the local area, and he adopted him basically. The dog adopted the man, followed him round, and he was loyal to him. And then when he died, he spent 7 years on his grave and just waited for him. And it's the sweetest story. And then the people of Edinburgh adopted him. Obviously, homeless dogs were illegal then, so if your dog didn't have a licence, it was put down. So they all chipped in, brought him a collar and a licence, and they adopted him. They all fed him, looked after him, and when he died, they buried him next to the owner, and now they've got a little grave marker for him. They've got a pub named after him, so he's done really well for a dog.
It's not too bad for himself. I don't think he gets any royalties.
No,
that's the problem.
No, but it's a big draw, and it was really nice because that was one of the first stories I read as a child. It was one of the first books I read, so it was really nice being able to go there, and experience it really, see the statue, and everyone leaves dog toys and dog treats on his grave, which is really, really sweet.
And it was really cute to see just how many people wanted to take pictures with the statue, wasn't it? You've got this amazing, incredible, allegedly haunted graveyard. People are like, ooh, Bobby, doggy, it's cute.
And one of the cutest things is on the grave they wrote, let his loyalty be a lesson to us all.
Yeah,
I think that's really sweet and true, because you know, he stayed with his owner even when he was sick. He stayed with him, and then when he died, he waited for him, and it's just so sweet. Little Skye Terrier. Yeah, he waited for him.
And I would have loved when we walked into that cemetery for that to be what I picked up. To feel that emotion and that connection. Unfortunately, I couldn't, because I was bombarded with noise, a cacophony of screams, shouting, something I've never experienced before. I mean, yeah, you can go into a graveyard and, you know, sometimes you're going to get a lot, you know, you get activity, but surprisingly, you don't get as much as you might think you would in a graveyard, because that's not where people died, and that's not where people's loved ones remain. So you don't tend to get a lot of spirit activity in a graveyard. You get some, but not a lot. However, in Greyfriars, you get a lot, and it was like everyone screaming and shouting at me all at once. Every hair on my body stood on end. My head started to hurt, which is something that I only really get. I get like a sharp pain here, but that's when I'm in the presence of multiple spirits. And so instantly I knew that it was going to be hard work. And walking around, the reason that it was so bad, I think, is some people know, some people don't, that originally the graveyard itself was flat. You go in there now and it's full of hills, but it was actually originally flat. And the reason that it got so bad was because during the reign of King Charles II, there are a lot of dead bodies that we're going to talk about. During that time, there was just nowhere for them to go, so they'd used up all of the space in the graveyard. So rather than like trying to find another graveyard, making another space for another graveyard, they just started chucking bodies on top of each other and covering them in mud. No grave markers, no anything, no personal space. They were just literally stacked in piles and covered in mud. And to this day, if there is a very bad storm and a lot of rain, bones actually do come to the surface there, which is horrific, creepy and horrific. And you've got to think of these poor people that didn't ever get a proper burial. So you wonder why they're all in there screaming. That's why. They just want to be heard. It's like everyone's shouting, like it's almost like everyone's shouting, it's me, my name's this is who I am, I'm here, tell people I'm here. And that's what it was like walking around, and it was very difficult to tune anything out or tune anything in, if that makes sense. It was just a lot of noise, and I don't know if you want to sort of tell them a little bit about.
So this isn't like a normal graveyard where you have just graves. This has a really bloody history to it. So to the left side of the cemetery you have mausoleums, and one of those mausoleums belonged to Bloody Mackenzie, who was a lawyer during King Charles's reign. They brought in a new law that said everybody had to be loyal to the Church of England, and if they didn't, they'd be punished. Bloody Mackenzie got his name because he took pleasure in torturing the protesters, the people that rose up against King Charles. He locked them in, what are they called?
Covenanters prison. Yeah,
and basically tortured them. They were in there naked, chained up, no food, no water, nothing, and he enjoyed it, he loved it.
And the problem with the Covenanters prison is that it's just a stone box. So basically, it's what it says, a stone box with no door, no ceiling on it, no roof. So they were exposed to the elements, as well as not being fed at all. And he took pleasure in that. If bones were broken whilst they were being manhandled and put in there, they were just left to suffer.
Hence the name Bloody Mackenzie.
Bloody Mackenzie, And there's a strange noise outside. And also, when these people died, these Covenanters, their bodies were chucked into a mausoleum. There was a special mausoleum in their prison. It's now called the Black Mausoleum, and that is because it is very, very haunted by particularly nasty poltergeists. So I was fortunate enough to be on a tour one time, and was actually able to go into the Black Mausoleum, and they were saying, oh, no one likes to go in here, so me being me went straight into the back corner. And the tour guide was in there explaining everything, trying to scare everyone, and I had something grab the back of my arm, scratch the back of my arm and shout no, and it was almost as if they were offended at the fact that this woman was making jokes about, you know, what had happened. So that was interesting. And then if you'd like to tell everyone a little bit more about the graveyard.
Yes, so it's an area that floods. We've done that.
Oh, we've done that. So the one thing that you should know about it is there have been a couple of interesting facts. So a priest named M.J. Wayland actually went into the graveyard and was asked to do an exorcism to try and get rid of some of the evil spirits there. He went in with his candle in one hand and his Bible and his cross in the next hand, and performed the exorcism. Now, during this, photographs were being taken for the local newspaper, and a black shadow was seen crossing past the window in the church. Now, the church itself was locked up, there was nobody in there, and actually it appears in one of the pictures. Now, sadly, we can't show you that picture here because it's not ours to show, but if you go online, you will be able to find that if you just search M.J. Wayland. And then not long after that, a well-known medium from the area went in to see if there was anything he could do to help. Now, he went in, and one of the first things he said was that the exorcism had not been successful. He had not felt that much evil in one place ever, and he left. He couldn't actually stay there, he left. And within 2 months, he was dead. Sadly, he died of a heart attack. Some people speculate it was because of his visit to the Kirkyard. Others say it wasn't. So I think that's open to people's interpretation. But there were a couple of things that happened to Bloody Mackenzie. Do you want to explain about the little visitors that he had?
He did have some visitors, some unwelcome visitors. So in 1999, a homeless man was seeking shelter, and he went into Bloody Mackenzie's mausoleum, broke in, and he was asleep, and he fell through the floor, which left a very big hole, and fell into the casket, didn't he? Which obviously exposed all the remains. Then through the years, kids broke in, they took grave relics, they took bits and pieces, and in 2004 they went in and decided to take his head out and play football with it and use it as a hand puppet. Yeah. Which is creepy and gross.
Yeah, the police had to come in and arrest them, didn't they?
But that is also when the poltergeist activity got worse. So, is there a connection? Who knows?
Could be. I mean, in fairness, you know, the homeless man, he was just trying to seek shelter and meant no harm. But the fact that he fell through and disturbed the graves, he actually had an experience and he ran out of there screaming. He left his belongings, his backpack, anything he had, he left it all behind and ran out screaming. The children, well, they weren't children, they were older teenagers, they were drunk. Thought it would be funny. Whatever, I'm not sure what came over them.
Of all the times I've been drunk, I've never thought
I'm
going to go rob a graveyard and play football with someone's head.
Let's find the creepiest, most vicious person we can and play football with.
You just get a kebab.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
true.
There we go. It happened.
Yeah, so that did happen. Now, those of you who don't know and might not be from the area, all around the graveyard there are high-rise flats, apartments. And after the football incident, they started to report things happening. Now, this included plates, cups, things flying off their shelves. It included actual physical attacks, bite marks, scratch marks. Within the first year, there were literally hundreds of accounts of people claiming to have had paranormal poltergeist attacks. And to this day, they get hundreds of accounts a year, hundreds of pictures of bruises, of scratch marks, of bite marks, allegedly caused by Bloody Mackenzie. So it's quite an unpleasant place.
People have reported being beaten up, attacked,
big
physically
bruises.
attacked, all sorts.
Yeah.
So it's a very haunted area.
So of course we went to have a look, as you do.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did notice was that the closer we got to the mausoleum, the quieter things got. So I didn't have all the voices shouting at me. And I truly believe it's because they were steering clear. They kept their distance, as we would in real life. Well, most people would.
Well, we don't
in
really.
real life.
No.
So with spirits. And when we got to the mausoleum, I honestly can say that I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything there. But there was a real sense of foreboding, a real sort of thick atmosphere that was incredibly unpleasant. Anyway, we decided to carry on, didn't we? Had a little look around. Sort of got a gauge for the area so we'd know when we came back for our actual investigation what we were looking for.
Yeah, the area by the commons was shut off, but there is a gate that we could look through, so we did stand next to it.
Yeah, we went to the Covenanters prison. Yeah, had a little look.
Very spooky area.
It is.
Awful
It's. I mean, it's. Yeah, standing next to that, it was absolutely heartbreaking because that wasn't crying out for attention. That was just crying out in pain. Sorrow. It was a horrible feeling, absolutely horrible. So anyway, we decided to leave and treat ourselves with cake.
Oh yeah, good cake.
Everything gets better with cake.
Yeah.
Went back and found our Airbnb to stay. Got ourselves settled in for a little while. Then it was evening. It was time for us to actually do our investigation. So we headed back into the Royal Mile. Which wasn't very far from where we were staying.
Had a little night out. Pubs were rocking. They were loving it.
Yeah. Oh, it was really nice.
It's a proper
there.
Friday night. If you're ever in Scotland, go out to the pubs on a Friday night. It's amazing.
What I would say is we didn't have a drink until after our investigation.
Yeah, no, we didn't. But you don't need it.
It's one
just
of
a
our
party
rules.
atmosphere.
Yeah, but there's a real party atmosphere on the Royal Mile, and everyone was incredibly friendly. I mean, there's a sort of rumours and things going around that people in Scotland don't like anyone that's not there.
They loved us.
There. And they were also lovely.
We were dancing, singing.
Yeah,
it was the best.
Brilliant. So we got there and we decided that we were hard party animals, so we were going to get a coffee because it was cold and we wanted to warm our hands
chilly.
up. And then we began our investigation. Now, all we took with us was a DVR, digital voice recorder, a digital camera, and our own instincts.
The reason for that is because we didn't need anything else, and you can get too bogged down with equipment. We didn't want to spend the whole time setting things up and wires and everything. We just wanted to go in and see what we experienced. And obviously with Claire being a medium, we don't really need much else, really, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. No, it's sometimes, I mean, there's some amazing equipment, and we are going to do a whole separate video talking about the different kinds of equipment you can use. And they're all amazing, and they all have merits, and they all do something and can help in some way. Well, to a degree, they all do. But you cannot beat your own senses. Beat your own senses doesn't sound, you know what I mean. At the end of the day, a digital voice recorder is always good because spirits work, if you believe in such things, they work on different frequencies that we can't necessarily hear. That's not to say you won't hear them, but sometimes we can't. Digital voice recorders pick up those frequencies, whether they be higher or lower. That's why we use them. Sometimes you don't get anything, other times you'll hear it audibly yourself, but a lot of time we've got some very good evidence, one of which we will play for you now. Okay, so as you probably heard, a whole garble of noise. There is a little bit where I very politely and ladylike say, "Oh, my bum's cold." Bum, for those of you overseas watching, is your fanny. Now, over here, your fanny is a whole different thing. And that's all I'm going to say
Did you
about
notice
that.
the pun?
Very punny. So yeah, I knew that something was behind me, even though there was nothing behind me. Now, Wayne, our tech guy, was way back round the corner. He was lost in photography. And I felt something cold behind me, which is why I said my bum was cold. And not long after that, you can hear a very strong Scottish accent telling us to get. And there was no one around. There was certainly no Scottish men around. It was just us. So to have that, it was incredible. So I'm just going to play it again now. Let us know what you think. Did you hear that? Did you hear something else? Did you hear nothing at all?
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Obviously, we like to know your opinions too. But for us, that was an amazing piece of evidence. So other than that, we kind of got some interesting, again, it was a lot of shouting, and I felt awful that I couldn't do anything for anyone. I mean, to a degree, I like to think sometimes, even if it's just to be heard, that I can help in some way, but there was no helping there. Unfortunately, it was just too much, too sad. Anyway, we left there, not aware of the voice that we captured, until we got back, and decided to move on to the Edinburgh Vaults.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, the vaults are under Edinburgh. They are actually under the city, and you have to go down quite a lot of stairs to get to them. Now, they were there, they had a legit reason for being there, didn't they? There were shops and things, and then later on...
And this was in the, what, the 1800s? 1700s?
1700s, yeah. Then later on, they were used for homeless people who wanted to hide because it was illegal to be homeless. So they hid in there, which is for bootlegging and some seedier activities as well.
Yeah. I think it was around the 1820s when it was more, well, it was still wasn't legal as such, but there were shops down there, as you say. Ladies of the night were down there, and then it was around 1860 that they'd all cleared out because of damp, unhygienic conditions. The air wasn't really very breathable, lots of mould, that sort of thing. And then they cleared out, and then around 1860, that's when the homeless started to move in, as Emma said, for fear of being arrested, because it was illegal to be homeless. If they were found, they would be arrested, they would be executed, their bodies would be put in barrels, and they would be dumped into the river. Not very nice. Yeah, not very nice at all. And then anyway, they left after a short while, just a few short years, because it was just uninhabitable. And then they kind of got lost in history for a long time, until 1985, when excavation work revealed some entrances to the vaults, and so they decided, you know, let's see what else we can find, let's have a look. And that's when the vaults were uncovered, some of them still containing artifacts from back in 1820, 1860. Yeah,
dolls and bottles and things like that, signs of that humans have been down there.
Just signs of life. And they decided, once they were sure it was safe, that they were going to open these up to the public, which is why we were able to get in there now. There have been many psychic mediums down there who have gone down there and said that they would never go back because they've encountered some very unpleasant spirits down there, let's just put it that way. As I say, I've been there on 2 separate occasions. Both the original 2 times, again, I've had interactions with spirit. There is a lovely character that I will get you to talk about.
Mr. Boots.
Mr. Boots. Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, so Mr. Boots is a man down there. He's considered to be an evil spirit. They don't know his name, so they call him Mr. Boots. He has been heard walking, so people have caught footsteps on their EVPs when no one's walking at the time. People have heard him. But yeah, they don't know his name, so he's just Mr. Boots.
Yeah, they
quite a
hear.
violent spirit, so
Yeah.
one to be avoided if you can. But
Well, they hear, the reason it was Mr. Boots is because the footsteps are so heavy and so loud. It sounds like, you know, a large man wearing boots. He has his own area in the vault, his own little room. And it is said that he actually killed a woman and he had her body down in his little area of the vaults in the back left corner. And there is a stain on the floor, which is allegedly from her decaying corpse, basically. And now if you go into his space, especially if you stand in that corner, he is said to physically harm you. Now, I have never been in that part of the vaults, sadistically as it sounds. I would love to. I'd love to go in there and see if I could find Mr. Boots. But lots of people have been in there, including from America, Ghost Adventures.
yeah,
Zach Bagans
Yeah.
went there and had his own experience with Mr. Boots. So that's definitely one to look up on the Travel Channel.
definitely.
That's a very good investigation. So I didn't get pictures as such. I've got a few orbs, but as you know, in the paranormal community, there's a lot of division, I think, when it comes to orbs. I think you really need to know how to understand an orb and see the difference between an orb, a bit of dust, a bug, moisture in the air. And now there is a way of determining it, and we are again going to do a separate video just going through that, showing you how to debunk things that aren't real, but showing you some examples of orbs that are actually real. So yeah, you can get orbs down there, you can get audio down there, but that's pretty much what we got the first couple of times. Then we went down there.
Yeah.
And you have to go in as a tour. I mean, you can go in on your own, but it's a lot of money. You need to pre-book in advance, and we hadn't done that, so we just decided that we were going to go into the vaults in a tour. Now, we had spoken to the tour guide previously and explained that we were a part of a paranormal group, and because of that, he very kindly let us hang around a little bit at the end before we all left. So he sort of got the group to move on while he was talking to them about something else. He let us stay around in some of the vaults.
I have to edit that out, sorry.
Did
The yawn escaped.
I'm so glad that you were so invested though, Emma. It really, it
Right,
makes
just
my
do that.
heart warm
I
that you're so
just couldn't
invested.
keep it in, sorry.
Hopefully you guys are not doing that, but
sorry.
that's
Carry
fine.
on.
No, I'm not offended at all.
It's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I did try and keep it in. I kept one in earlier. It just didn't.
That sounded good. Don't want to know about that. Anyway, so we got to stick around. Now, when we were in the doll, there's a room. I say it's a room. It's kind of like it's a big concrete block, but it's a room. We were in a room with dolls, and that's because there is allegedly a small child in there, a small girl. And her spirit has been seen, felt, heard on many occasions. So people started taking dolls in for her. And now it's just become a thing that visitors come down and they leave a doll for the little girl. And heaven forbid you remove one of them, just put it that way. Now, when we were in there, I actually had a small child grab my left hand, and it was incredibly cute, and we were talking, the tour guide was at the front talking, and I was kind of stood there with this child's hand in my hand, and I kind of just looked down and smiled, and then we moved on to the next room. I mean, I think the worst thing you can do is if you think there's a spirit next to you, be like, oh, smile, because it's disrespectful, because at the end of the day, yes, we'd love to prove that the paranormal, everything paranormal is real, but also we have a respect for it as well. So you can choose if you're going to believe us, and I'm very much of the opinion that everyone is a skeptic until something happens, and then you're not. And so if you're watching this and you think that's a load of rubbish, I respect your opinion, we respect your opinion.
Definitely.
And those of you that don't will hopefully understand that it doesn't all have to be pictures and audio clips to know that it's there. We've had audio clips and we've had pictures that we've shown you throughout this video, but a lot of it is personal experience, and you'll find that for yourselves. Anyway, I digress. we were fortunate enough to stay around for a little while. Now we took pictures, as I say. We did get a couple of orbs, but nothing that I would say, you know, wow, look at this, you know, look what we can take and show the world. We didn't really get that. It was more personal experiences.
It was very eerie though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not
eerie.
to say that it's not incredibly busy down there. Excuse me, I personally heard a lot of footsteps. I know you did too, and I believe Wayne did. And for Wayne to actually hear something, he was the biggest skeptic, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Until he did a few investigations with us.
Yeah.
One of which we're going to talk about in a future video, which was a life changer for him. Or I think a life changer for all of us.
Yeah.
So that's to look forward to. I'm really excited about that one actually. So we left the vaults. We walked around the streets for a while because it's not just the famous ones like the vaults, like the graveyard. The whole area is incredibly haunted. Yeah. And so we had to walk around for a while. Didn't really catch any evidence as such that we could bring to you.
But then it was a busy Friday night in Edinburgh. So, you know, it was quite loud anyway. There were a lot of people about. Yeah. So it wasn't really the chance to do a DVR or anything like that. Yeah. So we just kind of...
Yeah, so we thought we'd blend in with the locals, and we went to the pub.
We did.
And that was amazing. And
it was amazing.
We went in and it was incredibly busy, and we were a bit nervous because, you know, we weren't sure if we'd be, you know, accepted, because it was a very small local pub, obviously. And everyone was amazing. They welcomed us in.
Thank you, Scotland.
Yep, thank you. We love you, and we are definitely coming back a lot. So you're stuck with us now. You know, we got drinks, and what we expected to be a drink was a drink.
Yeah. That much vodka, that much Coke.
And Wayne was very happy with his whiskey. It was amazing, wasn't it?
You can't go to Scotland and not have whiskey though.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, we were really sad that we couldn't go and investigate Edinburgh Castle, because it is amazing. It is very haunted, and I would love to get there, and I know that we would get some incredible evidence there. Unfortunately, we had another investigation booked in Newcastle, so we had to leave, which is why we couldn't go. We were halfway on our way to Newcastle, and that investigation got cancelled.
Boo.
Boo. So we went and had a look around Newcastle anyway, because why not? We were there. Went to go to our Airbnb, put it into the sat-nav, and it said it was 50 miles away. And we're like, no.
Back towards Edinburgh.
Yeah, back towards Scotland, yep. And we're like, no, that can't be right. Checked it again. And apparently, if you go onto the Airbnb site and you type in Newcastle, you'll get something that comes up called Newcastleton. Now, we assumed that was just like a little village in Newcastle. No, it's 50 miles back the way we just came.
Yeah.
So we had to go back there into the middle of Satan's butthole.
Yeah.
No shops for miles. Just lots of very narrow roads, lots of animals.
Yeah.
And then we found this amazing little farmyard, I think, for want of a better word. Beautiful accommodation. Cold again.
Yes,
I think it's just us.
Cold.
It's cold all the time. But beautiful, very welcoming, lovely, but no shops for miles, so we had no cup of tea.
No, it was an absolute disaster. No cup of tea for 24 hours.
Emma was not loving life.
No,
right then.
I was not loving life. No tea, no milk, nothing. Because the owners thought we didn't want it. Just gonna leave that there. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter.
And this was 2 years ago, guys. Imagine what it was like at the time. So anyway, they did have a restaurant / bar, so we did go there and had an incredible meal. No, but they had beer.
Tea, you know?
Beer. You can see the difference. So it was incredible. The people were lovely. Anyway, the next morning when Wayne was checking us out, he just happened to mention that we were paranormal investigators, and they said, wow, you should have said last night, because that barn's really haunted. And we were like, yeah. And the thing is, what was frustrating about it is when we went back to our room, I said, let's get the spirit box out, because something in that corner is, it's drawing my attention.
Very creepy little room.
But it was actually that corner outside that the barn was, wasn't it? And that's why I was being drawn, but there was nothing actually in our room. So we just thought, no, it's nothing. My little, I can't say what I want to say. We normally call it a something sense. Can't say that for copyright. Tom Holland would kill me.
Yeah.
So I have to call it my...
Worst ways to go though.
Oh yeah. Well, no, because I'm too old. If I was younger. But I call it my arachnid sense so we don't get copyrighted. And that's what we say, that's tingling. And that was going off like a beacon, but obviously it was because of that barn, but we didn't know that.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell them about our interesting trip home?
Yes, which also didn't have a cup of tea. I'm not bitter. So we started the journey on the way home from Newcastle Ton, which was up by Edinburgh. We got lost, completely lost. That's not a shock. If you know us, that's not a shock.
But in fairness, it wasn't Wayne's fault. So
No.
the road that we were supposed to take was closed. So we had to find an alternate route. Unfortunately, though, there wasn't one for miles. So we were kind of like doing this.
Going round these really narrow roads. We went through a field, which I'm still not sure we were supposed to drive through.
No, Wayne had to reverse out of it.
And then we got stuck in what we affectionately call the cow jam. So we went through this field, we get right to the end, and there are all these cows which look like they'd never seen a car before.
Well, it was on a road as well, wasn't it?
They were gathered around the car,
yeah.
and it was fun at first. It was brilliant.
Yeah, we were like,
we were moving at them.
Look at the cows.
Until the boss cow, I seen that was what?
The boss cow.
Decided to
head of the mafia cow.
Backwards very slowly, away from the car, with his head down. We thought we were going to get rammed.
Yeah, well, I had the window open.
She was mooing at him.
I was in the front passenger seat, and I had the window open, and I was mooing, and I said, "Oh, it's a cute little moo cow. Oh, look at him. He's so cute." And then he reversed up, and he looked like he was going to eat me.
Thought we were going to die.
Yeah, so I quickly got the window. Well, I didn't wind the window up. I'm not that old. Put the window up, and he looked like he was going to ram us.
Yeah.
I was absolutely terrified. So we very slowly managed to get through.
Yeah.
And that was our McMoo experience.
That was our McMoo experience.
And that's not to offend anyone.
Never
just
want that experience again. Yeah. It was horrific. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it was very strange as well because we went round the corner and there were llamas.
Yeah.
They weren't on the road. They weren't on the road. They were in a field. But llamas.
We eventually did get home.
We did.
Through detours here and there.
And then we listened to our evidence and found the clip that we played you earlier. So to you guys, it might just be one little voice. To us, it was amazing.
It was amazing. It was a brilliant trip, start to finish.
Yeah, to be able to be there in that moment and to know that there's someone there and someone's coming up behind you. But then to hear in a very clear Scottish accent someone tell you to get out, it was, it was phenomenal. So if you haven't been, I highly recommend it. It is a beautiful place. It is full of amazing history. Definitely worth the trip if you go. And of course, if you do go to the cemetery, go to the Edinburgh Vaults tour, go to the castle, and definitely check out the Royal Mile because it is absolutely stunning. So we're going to actually leave you with a picture of the Royal Mile that we took that I absolutely love.
I think the most important lesson from this is, please, if you're booking a trip, Newcastle and Newcastle Ton are miles apart.
Places. Yeah, always double check where you're staying.
Yeah.
But then we had some laughs, so, you know.
We had a very patient driver as well, didn't we? He wasn't phased at all.
Yeah,
he brilliant.
Put up with a lot of grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. I hope it's been entertaining for you, if nothing else. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon with some more very compelling evidence and interesting stories of our investigations and our shenanigans.
Yes.
Yeah. So look forward to seeing you again soon and keep it spooky.
Yay! Oh, okay. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't break that.